What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Transcendence podcast. I'm G.O.D.
And I'm Ray.
And we're your hosts. Take a journey with us into the realms of some of humanity's most inner thoughts and theories about what lies before us and beyond the other side. Take a step back with us from the day-to-day heavy burdens of this constant evolving life. From awakening the collective, astrology, the spiritual divine, holistic health, shamanism, and quantum theory, to the frequencies and vibrations of our universe, history, religion, numerology, and so much more.
We spend countless hours researching to bring you the breakdown of information from some of the greatest minds in these fields and even our own experiences. We're here to challenge your thoughts so that you can reshape your own minds and beliefs into ones that better serve you.
We hope you enjoy the discussions about the supernatural and the ancient knowledge that we have become so fond of, and we wish to share with you so that it may also help you on your quest in this human experience we're living. Let the transcendence begin. Godspeed and share on.
Welcome back.
Hey, back at it again.
What do we got today?
Today, all right. So we spoke a little bit about beliefs.
Symbols.
Yes, symbols and
symbols.
beliefs.
Right.
We're going to break that down a little bit more into the whole beliefs that we mostly go by today. And those are a lot of the Abrahamic religions. This is going to be more so on the fact of like now that beliefs determined, by a lot of natural occurrences,
natural observations.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So those beliefs being structured, how they turn into religion and what we see now to be like the Bible or the Torah and all that. But mostly the Bible and a little bit of a hyper focus on Jesus.
Right. Because if you learn this, you'll learn.
Yes.
All the other ones come into play. That's basically the point. The point is we could teach you one, and you're going to start to understand them all.
Yeah, it's just to be used as an example. And the purpose of learning this is to see the function of the information and how it pertains to the natural order of things, and then how we are able to use that or understand it in such a way that we are able to manifest our own destiny and our own reality that we want to see in our lives.
Right, because it does come into play of how the mind works, how the universe works, how that all entails on manifestation, on creation. But we have to understand where these things come from and how it works. Like this even ties into psychology, the subconscious mind, the garden.
Yes.
Right. And how we've applied symbols and how we've applied these religions as a guidance system and a way of understanding the world and ourselves.
Yes. And then also which we're not going to speak too much on it today, but we will do another episode about it, kind of how that transition from the natural belief of things, how it was twisted by man and made into something else. Like I said, we're not going to really get too much into that today, but there will be a whole, probably multiple segments on that on its own in different pieces.
Yeah, very interesting stuff too. It's, a lot, it tells back to King James and eras of, the Spanish Inquisition and all that.
Yeah. King James. And then before that, even Constantine, how the Roman Empire had a big big part on it.
He's a dirty
in those
man.
times, during Jesus, after Jesus, even before King Herod, all that. So, like I said, we'll get into that at some point. So, but it's important to understand this first. Many people might already be aware of some of this information that we're going to talk about, but we're going to try to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, for the truth seekers, this is pretty basic. I mean, when you get into this subject, this genre, especially with a lot of occult people too. It's not just, mainstream religion, not so much. Maybe people that go to church aren't going to see it in this fashion. But we're looking to make connections here. We're looking to show people that haven't heard it in this fashion, how we can tie religions together, how we can understand the story of Jesus a lot more. So we're going to connect some dots for you.
Yeah. And it's not to denounce any belief or religion.
No.
It's just it's to see the symbology in a lot of these religions and natural occurrences in our universe and in our day-to-day reality that just connect these things.
Yeah, it's to encourage.
More so to connect the skeptic of religion.
Yeah.
So if anything, it's like more of an advocate for religions
like
in
atheists.
a way. Yeah. So
we're actually validating religion.
Yeah, we're
this.
actually validating it in a way.
When it comes to existence of beings and certain things, that'll be a conversation. But we're going to go deeper today, and we're going to explain how the story of Jesus and all that pertains to the sun, pertains to astrology.
Yes.
And astro-theology.
Yes, which that'll lead down a whole nother rabbit hole of understanding the cosmic functions of our universe and the macrocosm of ourselves and individuals.
Or us being the microcosm.
That's what I meant, the microcosm.
Well, no, you're right. No. Well,
the macro
universe
into the micro.
Yeah, let's make it clear. The macrocosm being the almighty big thing that represents what we are on the small level. So we're the microcosm. It's the macrocosm. Yes. As above, so below. No, that's not a satanic saying. They just happen to use it. But as above, so below, just meaning, you know what? The universe is one big function. It's one big function.
One function.
Yeah. So.
All right. So starting off, so we went into a little bit about the sun, how it was perceived and then personified through the ancient times of what do you call it? Like the animalistic nature of man.
Primal.
Yeah, primal man. The simplicity of it. But now, as we fast forward into more of the development of the human mind and more the development of civilizations, we start getting how these are the codes and the rules and principles and laws, whatever you want to call them, of the universe, that there's holders of this knowledge. So when we talk about that, it's just appropriate to mention astrology, because how much astrology is mentioned in so many ancient texts, even after, like more recent. I don't mean recent like as in a couple years ago or anything. I'm talking about more recent as in, centuries ago. And that's the thing. So when we look at astrology and the constellations, they were anthropomorphized by ancients, which means simply that they were given personifications, and they were given personifications with the elements that they were associated with in those times of the season. Same
way they're doing with the sun. So, they symbolized certain parts of the year and associated with parts of the sky.
Yeah. So the sun's movement or the journey in the sky was seen as traveling through the constellations and through those archetypes and the elements of nature, where they were noted and what they expressed during the times the sun was in those constellations.
The weather, the animals,
yes, the state, harvest, and the plants, everything.
The state of the whole earth.
Yes, exactly.
Well, at least from where you were on it and where, positions do mean something.
Yeah.
But yes, so like these are kind of, basically they made stories into states of the earth and its environment.
Exactly. So we touched up a little bit that the sun was the light and the bringer of life, and the sun was worshipped and looked at as
the risen
as a god,
the risen savior.
Yes,
light of the world,
a manifestation of God
who will come back, come in from heaven.
Yes, exactly. So the ancient sons of God were in all these ancient texts. Where you had the Egyptians, it was Horus, and the Greeks, it was Attis, and more of the Hindus, it was Krishna, and then you also had Persia, which was Mithra, and then Greek also had Dionysus. And there's so many more that you could rattle off.
Which all have very similar stories, which is where, right off the top, we understand it has to be from a similar source.
Exactly.
How could all these cultures and all these civilizations have such similar stories and worship such similar gods? Where are they getting that story from? And there's only one place you could look that makes sense, which is the sky. Sun worship.
And the latest personification of the sun that we have, which this is not to go and say that this person's life never existed. That's not what we're saying at all.
It's not the focus today.
Not at all. It's just showing the similarities and some of the same functions and the symbology behind it. So one of the latest personifications of the sun can be represented as Jesus. Yes, Jesus. Zeus. Jupiter.
Wait a minute. Is there a connection there?
No, we're going to get into the connections.
I wonder.
So,
Jesus.
So how do we make that connection now, Ray? We have to make it with a little bit of what we know from the Bible, right?
Sure.
And then if we're trying to connect it with, the sun and astrologically speaking, then you have to look at the function of the sun and also the function of Jesus Christ, of which whatever we know about him, whether it's through the Bible or through other teachings.
Well, you look at landmarks. Take the most important stories of Jesus, say. That's where I started. You go into stories that were so well known by everyone due to, celebrations and times of year and why we do things. So, even if maybe you're not Christian or Catholic or anything, I'm pretty sure you might celebrate Christmas. There might be a good chance that you know what Christmas is. So what you want to really do is take these stories, and then once you learn a little bit about astrology and the sun and the zodiac, you start making these connections.
You could definitely see this. You could start seeing the synchronicity behind everything and the symbology.
Right. And let's take an obvious one. How many disciples did Jesus have?
He had 12 disciples.
12 followers, 12 disciples. And how many zodiacs are there?
12.
So there's one. That's very interesting there. Right. There's a word in the Bible, and it's called Maseroth. What does that mean?
In the Hebrew translation, where God is speaking and he's saying, "Did I not bring you the Maseroth?" Now, Maseroth, when you translate it, it can be zodiac or constellations. So it is pertained to the heavens. And he says also in that same verse of did I not give you Orion, the Pleiades, all those
all star systems.
So with that being said, looking at that, we know the story of Jesus's birth, since we're talking about that. So December 24th, you see that the star in the east, which is Sirius, it's the brightest star, and it aligns with Orion's belt, which Orion's belt is also known as the Three Kings. Yes, the Three Kings. And who are the three kings in the Bible? The Magi.
The astrologers.
Yes. The astrologers. Or if you don't believe that they're astrologers, which is that's fine, but they're also talked as associating with astrologers, which also the King Herod that they went to inform him of that a savior was to be born and that they're going to find the savior. And Herod wanted them three to report back to him, because this threatens King Herod, that there's this savior coming. That's the story of the Bible. So three kings, they follow Sirius, which then all point to the rise of the sun on the horizon of the winter solstice on December 25th, which we know December 25th.
Birthday of Jesus.
Exactly. The birth of God's son. And I just think it's very convenient that these three kings, or Orion's belt, the three stars in Orion's belt, Sirius aligns with it. And when they align, they're all pointing to where the sun is going to rise on the horizon during that time. And that's of the winter solstice, which the reason why that's important, because it shows now, if you want to just look at it on a seasonal base, it shows that now the sun is going to come back up and start making its hike all the way back up into the sky, which brings on spring, and it brings on, the whole feeding of our crops and all that, and it allows for more sunshine.
It's reborn.
Yes, exactly. And it better, not so cold anymore. These are all the things that would be beneficial to civilizations, because obviously everything was very dependent on shelter and food and, just the right resources during those times. So when we're saying that, as far as how it points to that, and how December 25th, it shows where the sun is going to rise.
Yeah, we're showing symbols
on the horizon of the winter solstice. Yeah. When you go back now and you talk a little bit, okay, well, the constellation now of Virgo.
The Virgin.
Yes. It represents the Virgin.
It actually Virgo means virgin in Latin.
Exactly. So with it meaning virgin in Latin, what do we think about now when we associate with the Bible and virgin?
Virgin Mary.
Exactly. So the Virgin Mary, and the Virgin Mary births God's Son. And
real quick, God's Son. Now, it's a play on words here. Like, it's not as complicated to understand it in this fashion. Is not so complicated. Really, it's actually that simple. Same thing with the word God and the word good being so similar. You take a O out of good and you got God. You put a D in front of evil, you have the word devil.
Yeah.
Play on words, as much as the logical mind's going to want to say, nah, it can't be that simple.
Yeah.
Well, let's make it that way. Let's take it as more of this simplistic way, and it could be easy to understand.
Yeah. Just keep the perspective in mind of the literal and the not so literal.
Right. Exactly.
So
Sun and Sun. That was my point.
Yeah, the Sun and Sun.
S-O-N-S-U-N. God's Son, Son of God.
Exactly. And then also a little interesting fact of the glyph for Virgo is the altered M.
Mary.
Which, you think, the name of the Virgin was Mary. And also in the other ones, like of Mithra, those were also, I think it was Myra.
And then there was also Meses in Egypt, who was a mother, and I think the Virgin,
mother of Horus,
mother of Horus, who was a virgin.
Yes, exactly. So there you start seeing how this story also is in other cultures, and if we're talking about Egyptian, that's 3,000 years
before Christ.
Yeah. So how could that be known? Well, let's go a little bit further, and we'll eventually get to that. So the mother then gives birth to the son. Virgo is the virgin holding the sheaf of wheat, which wheat we know makes bread.
Yes.
And where was Jesus born?
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem. Now, I'm not Jewish, but after doing a little research,
Jewish either.
In Hebrew, when you break the word Bethlehem, it literally means
house of bread.
House of bread. So there's another connection there.
So and there it could be pertaining to, as much as there is a place on earth, it could mean that place in the sky. That's what we're saying today. Sometimes that symbol, as much as we've made a place on earth named Bethlehem, it was actually from the sky first.
Yes, that's where it was given its name and its purpose.
Sure.
So now we're talking of the season of Virgo. We know that the season of Virgo has to do with the harvest of everything. And then you think about almost as in a woman being pregnant and stuff, it's almost like the harvest of the child.
The seed is flourishing.
It's
harvesting.
You're about to reap.
Birthing.
Yeah. Reaping what you're sowed a little bit. So that's honestly the connection there with Christ, and then also with the just nature in our cosmos and how that functions. So you see that, okay, it could be that, like I said, it's not that Jesus is not a real person or anything, because there's a lot of evidence to support that.
Sure.
But you also could see how they're speaking. If you see it in the not so literal way, it could be speaking of the actual movement of the sun and the seasons and how they occur and the energies behind it.
And could have there been a being, because when you learn astrology and you have birth charts, could there have been a being that actually had a chart similar, like his story of his life was the story of the sun in a sense, where that's been my whole thing with not counting out or discrediting the existence of Jesus, because there could have been a being that had the a birth chart, because when you learn astrology in your own chart, it's more so, there's a story being told, and that's being played out if you know how to do it correctly, if you go to the right person. Do not download your daily horoscope app. It's way more complicated.
Yeah, it's a lot more than that. And then you're going to come into conflict of like, okay, well, how do I know this actually pertains to me? But
that's another episode.
We'll get into more of that. Astrology.
But understanding all of this right here, the Bible and all that, is foundational. I think I said it in the first episode where Zeitgeist was a huge thing for me. Watch that documentary. It's from 2007. It's called Zeitgeist, and there's a whole first section where I gained a lot of this knowledge from that documentary. And it had explained all this stuff. And what it did for me is it made it so important. Like it made me understand that everything came from this. You know, like your Bible and your other religions have roots hidden from within the story of the stars.
Yeah. And it's funny though, because now I've seen now in the past few years now how this information and this knowledge is becoming more relevant and more widely known and understood. So,
Sure.
you know, with that being said, there's got to be some sort of validity behind it.
I think someone said someone said this best, where if knowledge lasts for so long, what do you think? All these people are stunad? What do you think they're stupid? I just believe blindly in this.
I pulled that out of my ass.
Yeah, right. There's I'm just shitting this information out. No, there's something there. And since I was a kid, I've always kept that mindset. I'm never going to discredit something.
Yeah.
I won't discredit anything. You know, if you do that, then you're not you don't know how to, you know, like to me, in my opinion, you're not giving yourself the chance.
Yeah.
If you shut something out, you know, as soon as the whole Santa Claus thing happened, boom, there it is. It's like, oh, you lied about that? All right, well, let me understand the concept of this. And there's a hidden meaning behind it, you know? So, and let me throw this in there. We talk about the Virgin, right? We talk about Mary. We talk about symbolism. Well, let's talk about another one. I find this one very important. I think everyone should know this one. Now, after Virgo, it goes through Libra, and then it goes into Scorpio. Scorpio is when the sun has fully fallen. When you learn the traveling of the sun, from the first day of summer in Cancer, the summer solstice, it starts to travel 1 degree every day south in the sky. So the sun goes up a certain height, and then every day it gets shorter and shorter, which means shorter days. It's only going up a certain amount. So we hit Scorpio, and we consider that fall. Why? Because the sun has fallen halfway. It's the halfway point. Libra would be technically the halfway point, but Scorpio is when it has fully fallen, which is where we get the word fall from, because the sun has fell.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, if you think about it, even though too, so after, you know, you get Libra, you know, we know astrologically is the scales, and it's almost like the judgment.
Balance.
Yes. The balance of, you know, there it's like where the judgment is being made on the sun. It's like it's going from its equal points of day and night. Now it's, you know, tipping more towards the other way of its fall.
And what do we call those two? You got in the opposite of Libra, Aries, and you got Libra, and they both mark a particular point.
Yes.
What's the word?
The equinoxes.
Equinox, right?
Yeah.
So the equinox representing, there's some more words for you.
Yeah.
Connections, equinox.
Yes.
So now we're at a point where, yes, it's equal. So, and that's where the days, by the way, are in equal day and night. The amount of hours the sun is up and the amount of hours the sun is down is absolutely equal. You're using the sun to measure these things. Where the sun is every year, same day, same time, is always in the same spot.
Yes, and it was seen in the firmament, which is also referred to in the Bible. The firmament meaning like the casing or the ceiling, and that's where it was looked at as was the stars were on this casing or ceiling, and that's how it was mapped to see where the sun was exactly, by developing these constellations and these patterns of constellations and noticing that they come around every so often. And then the sun travels through those constellations. So once they figure that out, you know, and they start seeing and discovering other celestial bodies, and which are planets or anything else, you know, they start finding a significance in those as well.
All right. It's a tool. It's a tool just like language, like math. And where these things fully come from, hey, we'll go into that.
Yeah.
You know, that's a topic on its own on how it was developed. You know, was this stuff made? Was it created, or was it founded?
Yes. Then this is just the introduction of the basics to understand, you know, the importance and how this knowledge was originally viewed as. And then, you know, we're going to get into more of how it turned. But this is just to understand its function and its connection with a lot of the teachings that we still teach to this day.
Yeah, I mean, their creation theory is something that's taught. The story of creation is still taught today. You know, churches and people are still learning these things. And, you know, if there's more to it, you know,
Why not know?
why not know? I mean, it could be very important.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think it's very important, you know, because we're making connections. And I wanted to make another point before we moved on. But so in Scorpio, this was just another Bible occurrence, and I thought this was
Funny. I was just thinking that I was going to ask you to get to it anyway.
really. There you go. Look,
Yeah.
same frequency. So so now I was talking about fall and Scorpio.
Yeah.
Now Scorpio is. I'm just going to say it up front, and we'll explain why. But Scorpio is the time of Judas.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the guy who betrayed Jesus.
One of the 12 disciples. One of the 12 Zodiacs.
Right, Scorpio. So, do you remember how many pieces of silver that he had to pay for Jesus' deception?
3? I don't even remember.
30.
30. 30
right.
pieces of silver.
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
But hear me out. Ready? How many degrees in one zodiac?
30.
30.
Yeah.
So the traveling through this sign of Scorpio in all 30 degrees, the 30 pieces of silver pay for Jesus. And so a scorpion, right? A scorpion is a betrayer.
Yeah.
Right. And so when a real scorpion goes into like the
defense mode.
Yeah. It has this move that it does. It does something to animals and people. It's called the kiss of death.
Yeah.
Right. And wasn't that mentioned in the Bible?
Yes. The kiss of death, the betrayal.
The betrayal, the kiss of death from Judas. Okay. So now there's another allegorical way to describe the sun traveling through this. And so they had written a story just with just adding a little flavor. And, you know, it's very simple. It's like, this is the sun traveling through Scorpio, and we made a story about it. Like, we make movies about things, right? We symbolize things. You know, we watch a Marvel movie, we learn something from it. We shed a tear when a you know, the hero saves the day, and then you learn this morality and you learn these values from the movie.
Yeah,
you know?
we've constantly, the hero's journey since mythology, we've constantly have used the hero's journey in all our writings, all our movies, everything.
And that
plays.
actually comes from the story of the sun, believe it or not.
Yes.
It is. The Lionheart.
Yeah.
The Leo
Exactly.
Lionheart.
So there's so much connection here. And the thing is, I just want to point this out too.
Let it out.
It's okay to dig for this information, but the purpose is not to develop some sort of paranoia to be like, they're lying to us. These fuckers don't want us. They're trying to suppress us, and stuff. Even if that's true.
Goddamn Jehovah's.
even if that is true, that is not to sit there and be some sort of excuse to revolt. This is to direct that knowledge and that energy inward and to express it throughout your own life and your own environment.
Application.
Yes, this is the application, not to sit there and feel jaded and, you know, yes, I get that could come up.
It can. I mean,
you got to control yourself. It's discipline in yourself.
Yes.
Which a lot of the stories in the Bible speak on that too. Sure.
And you can have fun with it too. Like, I mean, me and Gio have had a lot of fun.
It's also just fascinating.
It is very fascinating. The connections being made. Like, if you wanted a door open, right, to a more mystical and more grand understanding of the universe, your life, everything, existence, why religions are put where they're put and how they're used, where they came from, and you understand that it has to tie in with you and the sky and the whole universe, and it all ties into one big story, and you realize that there's this equation to everything, and that kind of gives this, you know, this notion that there is this intelligent creation going on.
Yes. And there's so much more because it is, I'll just give a little sneak peek. I think I said a little bit. You're going to see how this all makes sense on even an energetic level as we move forward throughout our segments.
Body, how it connects to the body.
Yes, how it connects to the body, everything, how it connects to science that we know that is proven and real. So that is where we're going with this. But to get there, you got to go through this and the understanding of the origins. This is why we're doing this. So with that being said, we've talked about now a little bit of, you know, Jesus's birth, Virgo and the Virgin Mary, you know, sun going through Libra, sun in Scorpio, Judas, Scorpio.
And there's the big finale here.
Yes.
Is that where we're going towards, Gio? Is that what you want to get to that?
I think we're going to get to
that. This is the big
that.
moment here.
I think we're going to get to that.
It's the big moment. I get excited. I get my inside my pants gets a little excited when we talk about this.
It's about to erupt.
Because this was the moment when I was learning and I was like, oh, that's it. I'm with it. Like, this makes too much sense. So after Scorpio, you tell me what happens. Let's go to December.
So now the 21st, we have the sun where it goes down and it dips below the horizon. The sun, in a sense, dies.
It's in its most southern point.
Yeah, it's in the most
southern point of the sky.
It's colder, it's darker, faster, and it's just...
But right, so now because on the 21st of June we were at the highest. Now we've gone halfway through the year and now we're at the lowest point. And we can all understand this. On December 21st, it's the shortest day of the year, is it not? So you don't have much day and you have a lot of night. It's a very depressing time of year, symbolizing death. You got no crops, you got no trees, everything's cold and bitter, and then after the 21st, there's something amazing that happens. So in that point of the sky where the sun has moved all these degrees down and now it's sitting at that point in the sky that you're talking about, right? It's below the horizon.
Yeah.
The 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. When it rises, it goes to the same degree, the same point in the sky. And you could ask the Navy, they track this. This is something that's tracked because they track the sun and where it is in the sky. So if you need some evidence on where the sun is every year, ask the Navy because the Navy is going to tell you where the sun is. So the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of December, the sun goes up to that same point in the sky. So what did the ancients symbolize this as? That it was dead.
Yeah, it was dead. But how long was it dead before it starts getting to what we're going to get to next?
Well, 3 days. But the most fascinating part, which is where I get excited, I'm pretty sure you know this. So as it's sitting in that same spot for 3 days, what constellation or what star form does it sit on?
It sits on the cross.
The crux.
The crux.
The cross or the crux. So the sun's sitting on this constellation called the crux and means cross. And if you look at it, it does look like a cross. So I recall a story. What? It sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? Dead for 3 days.
God's son dies
on the cross.
Dead for 3 days.
And you had mentioned this.
And is resurrected on...
Yeah.
Which, if you look at it on the actual astronomical sense of it and how it works, the sun does rise. Like we said, we did say that that Sirius, when it aligns with Orion's belt, it points to where the sun is going to rise on the horizon on the 24th.
Yeah.
And then it rises when? The 25th, 3 days later after it went below the horizon.
When the three magi pointed,
Yes.
the three magi are following the star in the east to find the what of Jesus? The birth.
Yes.
And on December 25th, we celebrate
It's that cycle.
Jesus, right, that birthday. The birthday.
The sun rises again. And you could see how in real far back, you go real far back before all these teachings and stuff, how these prophecies came to be because there needed to be a hope for people who didn't know the simple, we know it and we're like, oh, who cares? But that's where it came from. They didn't know, oh my God, what's happening to the sun? The sun's not staying as high or as long anymore as we're going through time. What the hell is going on? Is this the end of time? No. The sun will be back.
They needed that faith.
And it will come back up and it will rise up in the sky again and go higher and higher and higher and give you the fruitfulness of life and abundance that you need.
Yeah. So now we're talking development of the human mind and the development of human society and us understanding the world. So why this is important? Well, I could say this. A lot of wars were started due to religions. There's a lot of political parties that run off religions. There's a lot of ancients that gave us information that were eventually turned religious. So this is important. So part of society, a big part of it, still functions on religion. The Vatican basically runs the world, does it not?
Yeah, exactly. Because everything is based off of that system and that idea. And we see it happen
calendar
in government, everything. And that's why understanding a deeper a deeper knowledge of this, of where it comes from and how it actually works. Because like then it doesn't make sense if you think of the equinoxes and the solstices and all that. It doesn't make sense why our year starts in January. Why doesn't it start in Aries?
I've read theories. This will be quick and brief, but I've heard theories that there's a lot of Saturnian worship in the world, and we'll definitely have that might be a whole episode in itself. Due to that, there's a lot of relevance to today's society and maybe even some secret societies and stuff that have Saturnian worship or satanic worship.
Yeah.
So
and that needs to be digressed carefully because there's a lot of misconception in that, especially with the occult and the association with certain things that feel like it needs to be cleared up in a sense so that this sort of information can come through in a way that's not going to be right away labeled and judged the way it has been in the past.
Sure. And that goes back to the witch trials.
And it goes back to that, which we're going to talk about that eventually.
And that's a fun fucking subject.
And you see how this information becomes that it goes underground for the longest time. It's understood. It was always understood at some point.
Keepers of the knowledge are there.
Yeah. But, there comes a point where, there's control. And in order to have control, you need to be able to control the mind.
And I know you guys have heard the terms Illuminati or the Knights Templar or Freemasons.
Yeah.
All these things tie in, but we don't have to condemn them or make them evil. And that's what Gio's talking about.
There's a lot that even I in the beginning never understood when it came to that, which I'm not going to go too much into it, but like even the association with the Freemasons and Illuminati and the Vatican. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't get it. Is the Illuminati bad or is the Illuminati good? Is Freemason good or is Freemason bad? Which, like I said, I don't mean to give you a teaser, but we will break that down.
Yeah, there's an understanding to that.
Yes. And that cleared up so much when I understood that.
Yeah, Saturnian worship is fascinating. I'll be honest. The music industry and all that. There's a lot of things to talk about. And that's a fun subject. And the thing is, why we're giving you this general, the basics is, trust me, when we start getting into that deeper advanced knowledge, when you
get a lot of
that,
shit will click.
Yeah, it just falls into place.
Yeah. A lot of shit will click. And it'll help you realize how you're living your own life and make a little more sense of things in your own life, in your own day-to-day.
Yeah, your own seasons, your own spring and your own summer and your own fall and your own winter and how it all connects. Life is amazing, guys. It's amazing on how there's a system, there's an intelligence. And me personally, I don't label myself as any type of religion. There's a certain way I see things. So don't think I'm saying, there's a God. There is, but we're not talking Christian Catholic.
We're not connecting it to religion.
None of that. Let's just say...
we are connecting it to religions, but we're not connecting ourselves and what we're saying to specifically any religion itself.
We're not proving a belief system, right? We're giving you facts.
Yes.
We're giving you facts, straight facts. And I don't want to hear no argument on like that I'm trying to push some God or Jesus on anybody. All we are both trying to do is make it really clear for you that there is this intelligent design.
Here's the data. Here's the perceptions on all sides. You come up with the answers.
And we'll give you the sources.
Yes, exactly.
We'll show you. We'll have links. We will have these things at hand for you. And there's also other teachers that we can point you to.
We're not the only ones talking about this.
Oh, God, no.
We're not the only ones talking about this.
You think we found this?
No.
Conjured this up?
No. There's a lot of information that's been dug up and received and just looked at and analyzed and everything. And, we've done our own research in that knowledge and stuff too. But we found by being open-minded to certain things and also, like, especially for me, coming from a Christian background, not allowing, because my Christian faith wanted to shut down a lot of this shit when we were going through it in the beginning.
I intuitively knew it.
It wanted to be like, no. And then I had to really look and be like, why is my mind saying that? It feels so right, but why is my mind saying that?
Cognitive dissonance.
Yes, exactly.
Your fucking brain didn't want to accept that shit.
But I opened that shit up and now I see how it doesn't go against what I believe.
Not at all.
It doesn't go against what I believe at all.
No.
It enhances it.
No, you'll love it.
Yeah.
I promise.
So,
Gio loves it.
But that's the other thing. Like we said about Jesus, and he had 12 disciples. We have the 12 constellations. You also have the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 brothers of Joseph, the 12 judges of Israel, the 12 great patriarchs, the 12 OT prophets, the 12 kings of Israel, the 12 princes of Israel, Jesus in the temple at 12 years old. There's so many different
12.
yes,
Why?
everything.
Why?
Even
Why?
Jesus
For nothing?
and 30 died at 33. You know,
Yes. Numbers repeat. There's a system. There's a way to decode. You know, like everyone got everyone got excited when the Da Vinci Code came out. It's like, oh, they decipher in the Bible and this and that. Well, let me tell you something. That was a psyop because they misled you to think, oh, they told you half the truth, and they're really good at that. When I say they, I don't know who I'm talking about yet. We'll figure that out. But what I'm saying, I do know what we're talking about here. But I'm just saying, let's just say they. We'll call them they, meaning whoever's portraying. But somebody had said, the Da Vinci Code is decoded in the Bible. Well, it's a half truth, and a lot of things are filled with half truths. You have to go beyond that. You can't just accept surface level things. Right?
A lot of this shit gets portrayed as like satanic worship or sacrilegious shit, which when looked at it the way that we're looking at it, I have no way find it to be sacrilegious or satanic and
That's
stuff.
coming from a Christian people.
Yeah, it's a
hardcore Christian.
It's a fear mongering thing from all sides, any side or whatever that, to keep from actually getting to the true understanding.
They don't want you to know how fucking powerful you are. They don't want you to know shit. They want to control you. There is a they.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
There is a they. Yes. I promise you
there is a they. And it's not just one, not just two. It's a collective they. That's what I think.
And they hit it.
Yes.
And it begins probably as far back as the Roman Catholics.
Oh, yeah. Shit,
Roman
back
Empire.
Farther than
way
that.
more, yeah. I mean, we're still learning as we go.
Hierarchies and powers. That's what does it.
Yeah, they want to fucking hold you by the testicles.
Yeah. So, with that being said, grab you by the gonads. It's got a purplish hue. Oh, man. Deep my plums.
Jimmy's gonna love you saying plums.
You said
his favorite word.
Eastbound down. I can never see
Jimmy Allen, this is for you.
Yeah.
And the plum grabbing.
With a deep purplish hue. So anyway, so we went a little bit of the how the Bible can be synchronized with the movement of the sun. Well, we know that the sun doesn't move. We move, and it looks like the earth moves, and it looks like the sun's moving.
Not some flat earthers.
Yeah, we're not going into that, which we will eventually that too. There's so much that we'll go into. All these theories, all these
firmament. I get it. We get it. Hey, flat earthers.
We get it.
We fucking get it. All right, don't yell at us. It's not about beliefs. It's a discussion. Get over yourself.
We're not against you, but we're not with you either.
Yeah. Get over your shit and open your ears, you jackass.
So besides that, then the question could come up, which the question came up for us was like, okay, well, if that connects, shouldn't all of Jesus's life, connect to the astrology? Well, yeah, but what we found is not necessarily in the way that we just portrayed it now with the sun and everything and stuff like that. It also goes through now, it's pretty known that each one of the 12 disciples represents the 12 zodiacs. So for each and every disciple, there is a certain story to be told as the interaction of Jesus with that disciple. There's many stories in the Bible that shows that interaction and the lesson behind it. And our way, how we've seen to develop what that means when it comes to on an astrological sense to an astro-theological sense, is that you could look at it as the sun when it moves into certain constellations. Let's give an example of Leo, right? Like we were saying before when we were talking. Leo.
Pride before the fall.
Yes. So Leo, give us the representation of what Leo is.
Well, Leo, first in astrology.
Yes, in astrology.
Leo is ruled by the sun, right? It's where we get Lionheart from. Yeah. It's the leader of the pack, the king.
Yes.
The king of kings.
So you're thinking
the Alpha,
heart,
Omega, the heart rules the heart.
Courage, love, even. It's that true divine love and heart and stuff. So if you go back and you could look at how, that's the astrological sense of it. Now, Jesus' interaction with the disciple that represents Leo, the Leo is actually John. He's the beloved. John is seen as a leader of the early church. Much like a Leo, he adored the spotlight in a manner of speaking. When he writes of himself in his book, he includes praise and somewhat shows off, as generally Leos do. So John wrote a highly detailed account of heaven in Revelations in vivid detail. Leos are known for their hospitality to the needy, and John was no less. They thrive on love and adoration and being the winner. John writes that he is the disciple that Jesus loved, which is said in John 13:23, leaning on Jesus's bosom, one of his disciples whom Jesus loved. That was referring to John. Now you have this interaction of Jesus with John. Now, John could be very self-absorbed, like a Leo can be. But Leo, there's good and bad to every sign. There's good and bad to every personality, if you want to say it that way. So,
there's a God and a devil in everybody.
Yeah, you could be
good and
you
evil.
could be strong, courageous, and prideful, and be a leader and be inspirational, or you could be courageous, prideful, and all that, and come from a place of arrogance. So, in a way, doesn't Jesus kind of represent the consciousness and using your consciousness to teach John that, hey, here's the Christ consciousness.
Yeah. Well, Christ is that is
Yes.
the natural state of consciousness.
Yes.
We've been programmed. We've been in the Iron Age. The Kali Yuga. Look it up. It's it's an Indian cycle. But the Kali Yuga, we were in the Iron Age this whole time. Which, guess what that means? We were separated. We were separated from ourselves. We had lack of consciousness, lack of understanding. But Christ consciousness would basically mean that you express what Jesus was, basically through yourself. You have Christ consciousness. You're fully aware. You're in touch with the universe. You're in touch with God.
Yeah.
So there's a way of looking at that with Christ. That's how Christ lives within you, because we all are Christ.
Yeah. And so you see that how that Christ consciousness, in the literal sense of him interacting with John, how he could kind of root John back to more of the harmonious nature of being a Leo, or not saying that it's exactly his birth chart, he's a Leo or anything, but he's associated with Leo.
It's the symbol of the story.
It's
a
the symbol is showing in those parables of how that pride is to be used in a sense that's more in harmony with God.
So it's a guideline.
Exactly. So you could see that then also throughout the other signs. We use Leo as an example.
Let's go Aries.
Let's go Aries.
Aries is because it's well known here with the ram's horn and all that.
Yes. So
we could just start simply. The Lamb of God.
Yes, the Lamb of God. Yes.
The burnt
absolutely.
offering.
And then as far as the disciple, it's Peter. And he's said to be Aries. Very vibrant and fiery. He was a great leader, as Aries generally are. He was the founder of the new church. He is still viewed by Catholicism as the leader of the church, all popes being his successor. If you follow him through the Bible, you'll see he's impulsive and changed his mind readily.
Now go look up an Aries characteristic.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And he is said to have the authority given by God to decide who may enter the gates of heaven. When Judas betrayed the Lord, the priest came to arrest Jesus. Peter was the impulsive disciple who immediately chopped off the ear of the priest. Though Jesus had forewarned Peter that he would deny knowledge of being an acquaintance, much less disciple of the Lord, Peter argued. Aries. He argued like, no, I'm not going to deny you. I'm not going to deny you.
We all know Aries are fucking hard-headed.
And he was fiery in the fact of when they came for Jesus, he picked up that sword and right away resorted to violence. But what did Jesus do? Stopped him. Put down your sword. Relax. Let them take me. It's okay. So that's the
lighter side of Aries, right?
Yes, and to show him.
So Jesus plays the consciousness,
Yes.
and then you have the signs giving these representations
Yes.
and characteristics of those,
Yes.
of those archetypes. So it's actually genius. It's genius, people. You learn how to read the Bible in this fashion, you're going to learn about yourself. You're going to want to learn about you're going to learn about how you work and not just learning morals and values, say, of what to do and what not, and thou shalt love thy neighbor and all that. Yes, all true. But there's something we were all missing here. This is in there. Do you know how big the Bible is? You know how many stories?
So much.
If you learn to read the Bible this way and you understand and you start to connect ancient religions and other religions and even let me tell you something. You know how many movies I've watched in the past decade now after knowing a lot of this? Because I've known it for that long. You start watching movies and you're like, They got that from the story of Capricorn.
Yeah, there's a lot that I've noticed. I'm like, wow, this seems really like, especially a lot of those like sci-fi type of whatever. Like it seems like very like, oh shit, like that seems like
those similar
astronomically
stories, right?
based or astrology based, like in a way. And I'm like, there's a lot of those philosophies in there.
Joke. No, I mean even Santa Claus. Santa moved the letters around. Yeah, you got Satan. He wears red. And guess
saying that we're not saying the same.
No, he's not. No. That's not what I'm saying.
There's a whole nother.
There's a whole nother point to that. Yes, I shouldn't.
If you want, feel free, go into it.
All right. Well, Santa. I mean, I think people will enjoy this.
Yeah,
they should. So Santa, being an anagram for Satan, same letters, right? So, what's ironic?
Where's red?
Where's red? Right. And he works in his little shop with his little minions that are children, and he fulfills your desires for being a good boy.
Sounds a little mythological to me.
Sounds like a Saturn return to me. But why I say that? Saturn.
Why?
Saturn? Did I say Saturn? Oh, because Saturn is Satan. When you read the qualities of Saturn and what he represents, he's in mythology, and you learn when you start studying astrology, you learn that there's mythological stories to this. So Saturn is Satan, or also Kronos, Father Time.
Yes, in Greek mythology, it would be Kronos. Yes.
Right. So
what did Kronos do in Greek mythology? What was that archetype about?
Oh, he ate children.
He hated children, or he ate children?
Ate them. I know you probably didn't hear that. No, he ate them. when you go like, I'm telling people, this is Greek mythology. Go read the stories. Kronos, Kronos.
You know, it started sounding like fucking Alex Jones. They're eating babies.
I hope he hears this someday. They're eating babies. They're aborting them. Awesome.
Oh God.
But so anyway, so now you got Santa, you got Satan. Satan is also an archetype of Saturn. You also have Kronos, Father Time. But what's ironic is, in astrology, the time of Capricorn's a sea goat, by the way. All right? So now you got Saturn being Satan, who also is symbolized by a goat. Does that sound familiar to you? You know, when you see satanic worship, who's that guy?
It's got Baphomet.
Baphomet. He's a fucking goat.
Yeah.
He's a fucking goat.
It's a hermaphrodite, too.
Yeah. So how ironic that you got Satan, Saturn worship, right? And then you got, all that. And then on top of it, I mean, not to bring it up, but, there's a lot of things going on with children around the world nowadays. And, Kronos ate children.
That's the thing. Like, we know, there's no denying that there's sick people in this world. There's sick people in this world, and there's polarities and everything. There's good and bad,
but there's symbolism. Yeah. And I mean, you're getting the code here. You're getting the underneath, the hidden meanings of all this, which you could see it in the world. Me and Gio see it.
Yeah. People believe that a lot of these ritualistic things that are actually, hold on. They believe that, that obviously, okay, there's a lot of power in knowledge in the universe and the cosmos and energy and everything and stuff like that. And there's a lot that we can do maybe in our own day-to-day rituals that help drive that power for us in this reality. So a lot of the people, aren't very humble, aren't very about the people and unity and stuff like that. They wanted power for themselves.
It's a Capricornian world.
Exactly. So it's a lot of power for themselves. What are they going to do? They're probably going to do some messed up shit that most people are going to consider messed up rituals in order to gain that power.
Yeah. And that would be, black magic and ritualistic stuff and, Eyes Wide Shut, I think it was called, and all that. But the movie and, there's a lot of hidden secrets in that movie. I'll hint, go watch it. But, so point being, and to sum this little segment up is, there's a lot of things going on in the sky right now, and we're getting to that point where it's important to understand these archetypes, the Bible, all these stories, because now, as me and Gio know all this stuff, and we're learning as we go, we start to see patterns. Shout out to the Leo King for breaking stuff down. David Palmer's the man. Yeah, but
check him out.
He has described. He's the one where I got the Kronos story from. I got to give him credit, and what that archetype in Capricorn. Now go read about. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm sorry. No, but really, seriously, if you would like, I know it's a sensitive world. I'm sorry, but anyway, But if you do end up reading more on Capricorn, go look up the aspects of it, and you'll find that, it's status based and control, and it's ruled, in astrology, it's government, and there's a lot of things going on in the sky that actually are signaling the destruction of government and the destruction of tradition, and the sky's saying it.
Yeah.
So, but I would have never known this if I didn't learn this stuff right here.
And if you're sitting there questioning, like, well, how does friggin' Saturn or whatever in the sky really affect me?
How does the moon affect the tides?
Hello, and the moon affects the tides, which is what? Water. What are we mostly made up of?
Water.
What do women base their ovulation cycles off of?
The moon.
The moon. So that's just one example, but
menstrual, there you go. Menstrual cycle. Moon rules the feminine. Okay, go ahead.
Exactly. So that's just one example. There's so many more. But the thing is, which I promise you,
he promises,
we're very close to getting to that episode where we're going to break down how astrologically how these celestial bodies affect our own subconscious, our conscious, and
our bodies,
and the reality that we're in.
It's all connected.
We will make that connection. I promise you that.
Not to sound like a hippie, but we're all connected.
Yes, we are in a web.
It's the truth. Science. Exactly. At this point.
Yes, the science does prove it. And that's where we're going to get into. We're going to connect the science to it eventually.
Oh, we're coming hard with the science.
Yes, but right now, we're here to show the origins of it. This is the whole purpose of this segment.
Yeah, we're here to praise Jesus today.
Yes, praise Jesus. Praise the Lord. So as we went through it, I'm not going to go through all of, the things. Now that you kind of got the sense of like, oh, okay, 12 disciples and Peter being Aries, that's where we're trying to go with that, where you find it interesting how all the disciples in the Bible have this sort of archetype to them, the same way the constellations have an archetype, and Jesus being the bringer of light to consciousness of all of these things, and in a more harmonious way, is teaching these through parables,
enlightening them.
Yes, exactly. To be able to have balance in their archetype.
Right. So, and there you go. And we're all born at a certain point in the year, and we all have sun signs, and that might have to do with something of our own enlightenment. This is how this could work. We could have our own little book of life that we have, and when you learn astrological things and the charts and all that, this is where all this stuff plays its part. And now, it's multidimensional. There's so many ways to understand it. So remember, this is still in the discovery phase. Yeah. This was ancient knowledge, but this is now being discovered again, and you're going to have many points of view.
Yeah.
It is.
It's being revisited, and it has to be dug up from being buried. It was buried. And
people were actually killed, by the way, during the Roman Inquisition?
Well, there's so many things. The Inquisitions, the Spanish Crusades, the Spanish Inquisition, the Crusades.
For this.
Everything.
For what we're talking about.
That, it was all, there was a lot of religion, there was a lot of persecution in order to make way for the New Age religion of Christianity.
Yeah, the witch trials.
Yes. Which is not to say that Christians are bad or anything.
No.
You have a lot of Christians who have this sense of God and this relationship with God and Christ and everything in a very logical and good sense, and sometimes even in this way too. But you also have the flip side thing. That's why everything, same thing, everything we see,
yin yang, all that.
Yeah, everything yin yang. There's polarities to everything. So with all that being said, we got into that more to make that connection with the signs and the Bible and astrology. But there is a lot more.
Oh.
And that's going to be our second part of this.
We even haven't.
Yes.
We haven't. We're
still going into it.
Yeah. We're learning as we go. I mean, we've known it for long enough, or we wouldn't have the courage to come on a podcast and talk about it. I mean, I have been, the basics I got down, and it's not as hard as you think, and it's really easy. It's just you have to have an open mind, and you have to have fun with it. And if you have fun with it, like anything else, you're going to get better at it quickly. And we promise you that there is a relevance to you, your own life, and understanding these things. I've heard entering, by the way, and we'll get into the next episode about the ages, but, we're going into the age of Aquarius, and how funny a song, in the late 80s?
Yeah.
The age of Aquarius.
Late 80s? Or was it late 70s?
Might have been. I don't even know. Shit, I'm
60s.
too young. I'm too old or young. Yeah, but we're entering that age now, and I've heard people predict that the religion or belief system of this age is astrology. Jesus has mentioned a man with a pitcher of water. in a Bible verse. So talking about the coming of an age, and all that. So all that plays relevance. Like it's going to end up connecting dots to you, and you're going to have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be the second part of this whole segment. We got into more of the understanding of these origins of beliefs and how they are represented through the Bible and through astrology and all the personifications of it. Yes, can we go deeper? Absolutely, but we want to be able to move on. Like you just said, we're going to go into in the next part about the pre-Jesus, the Bible pre-Jesus, and after Jesus, Old Testament, New Testament, everything, and show the correlation of the scripture with the astrology as well with that, and going into the ages. Which ages were very heavily discussed in the Bible, but not in the sense where it's very obvious all the time that it's astrological. But we're going to point out the obvious of the astrological signs and the coming of those ages, and what was thought and what was believed on during those ages.
Right. Yeah, real important. We'll talk about Moses. We'll talk about moon worship, the Jewish religion, Abraham, right? And even Mount Sinai and where that came from. That's an incredible little connection. But so
Passover, all that, how that's related and everything. There's a lot of interesting scriptures and writings in the Bible and all these books that are so many things that are so. It's hard to believe that it's coincidence
or this simple.
Yeah.
It's just, we're taught so like the divine is this mysterious thing, and you're gonna have to wait till you die to find out. And yet we're all together, all of us, you, I, the list, we're all unlocking this new path, and it's for real. I believe people can get excited about this as
Absolutely.
I am.
No matter what, it's cool. It's interesting too.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. So
me too. I love history. So you're digging back up history, and I'm like, ooh, yay!
I ate mushrooms once, and I just saw shit, and I was like, dude, I want to understand the fucking universe.
Exactly. So I'm like, yo, this is deep. But that's the thing. It's not saying that all of a sudden you're going to understand the universe.
I don't condone drug use.
Yeah, and you're not going to understand the universe, and all of a sudden and dive deep and can transport and time travel and all this shit. I mean, maybe you will, but who knows? We're not saying that that's the guaranteed thing. It's just that it can help you in your own philosophies about life.
Yes, we are all
these understandings of the natural occurrences of everything.
We're individuals, but guess what? We all connect.
Yeah.
There is a way to understand.
We all have our individualism. So, speak true to yourself, but how are you going to do that if you don't really understand your origins or what you believe in, which is what we kind of shed a light on in our second episode.
Right. So it only goes deeper from here.
Yes.
So let's get a move on. Let's get,
Yeah.
I think it's time. I think it's time. It's sad that we have to go.
Yeah, but we got more to come. So thank you very much for tuning in. We're getting ready to keep going deeper and deeper. We hope you enjoy listening to us. Don't forget to check us out. Go to our website.
The usual.
Follow us. Give us likes. Give us shares on Instagram,
Facebook,
Twitter, Google Plus, your sister's ass.
Shout out to Vic. Go Vic. But all the social media, it's really easy to find us. Transcend Daily on Twitter.
Yes.
And eventually we'll have our own website up. We'll have information, resources. And we do it all for you. We just want to let you know that.
Yes, exactly. So check us out. Keep following us. Stick with us. Share with us. Experience with us. Learn about our origins. Learn about some of these things we've been taught. And let's transcend the mundane. Let's transcend our knowledge into something that's our God-given right. Yes, in our own individual ways. So, with that being said, like I always say, without question,
there is no truth.
So let's keep questioning. And hope to see you guys back soon. Godspeed. Bye-bye.